pandemic got us into a reflective space and made us look inward to see what we can do for the world at large. As a self-expression coach, I became a catalyst for women and started Vani, a one-on-one coaching program for women on finding their voice, to speak up, to be visible. As a storyteller, I spotted there were many ordinary people amongst us leading extraordinary lives, making a difference to the world, and they needed to be heard. Thus was born You and I with Rashmi Shetty, where amazing personal journeys with their uniqueness and individuality are showcased. A reaffirmation of the fact, open your eyes wider, the world is far more beautiful when we acknowledge the presence of both you and I. Our guests today are Kedar and Chandrika Nayak, founders of Octavium Music Academy. An avid musician from his college days, Kedar Nayak, also known as Viku, moved away after 3 decades as an entrepreneur in technology and in the L&D space of designing and delivering programs to set up his dream, Octavium Music Academy, in 2013. His focus now is on making quality music learning available to those who seek it. He is the bassist of Dr. Prakash Sontakke Group, which has 2 albums to its name. Chandrika has over 27 years of experience in the learning and development function, of which 13 years are in corporate organizations. She started her own consulting practice, ThoughtWeave, in the space of people development in 2011. She has since been a leadership coach, workshop facilitator, and HR consultant for startups, mid and large organizations. She is the co-founder of Octavium and drives its academy operations, curriculum development, and student engagement initiatives. Listen in as they share their journey, the academy, parenting tips, and life lessons. Kedar, Chandrika, such a pleasure having you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty. It's so nice to see a couple always smiling like this, and you seem to be completely in joy. I want to know how your journey was from the little Kedar and Chandrika that you were to the Kedar and Chandrika Nayak the world knows today. So we start with Kedar. So, Kedar, you can take us through your childhood. What exactly shaped you to who you are today?
Thank you, Rashmi. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you, and thank you for having us on this podcast. As far as my personal journey goes, I was born in Manipal. I grew up in Kerala, and I think in 1982 we moved to Bangalore, and I've been here ever since. As far as my logistical placement goes through my growing up years, if I were to talk about my journey from being a little child to where I am in the context of what I'm doing today, growing up in Kerala in a little colony called Cochin Refineries Colony, there was a lot of music in that colony, and it was part of our childhood. So I inevitably I started playing the guitar, I think when I was about 8 years old. And I attended only one formal lesson in my life. I remember that lesson, and it was not a very pleasant experience for me. I think the only class that I attended, I found it very, very drab and dreary. And I was thinking, what was I doing in class trying to learn the guitar when I just want to play? And both my older sisters used to play the guitar. So I said, okay, let me try this out on my own. So I picked up things from my friends, and that's how I started learning to play the guitar.
One sec, Kedar, but guitar, today there's YouTube. At that time, there's no YouTube, no? So your sisters taught you. How did you self-teach yourself?
One thing was I used to watch my sisters play at home. They were learning themselves. They were learners themselves. It's not that they were accomplished guitarists or anything. Older friends in the colony who were quite adept at playing the guitar, and they could play a few chords and sing songs. And I just watched them and asked them to teach me whatever little they knew, and that's how I picked up. It's strange that you asked me, because I really can't recall how I learned. Of course, a musician can never say that he's learned everything there is to it. And I'm still a learner. I'm still learning. And I still have a long way to go, if you ask me about playing the guitar. But I guess that in the initial years, it was mainly by watching my sisters and learning from my friends in the colony. So that's how I started off. And when I came to Bangalore, I studied. I joined my 8th standard in Aurobindo Memorial School in Banchankri, and I think I was the only child in my grade and who could play the guitar. And I ended up playing in the annual day functions and stuff like that. And I never stopped playing, though there wasn't much to do other than play in some school function or the other. And then pre-university college happened, and there I met up with a few more folks who could play musical instruments, and that's where I probably played with my first band, if you want to call it that, at a pre-university college. And then on to engineering college at RBC. That's where it really the bug bit me, like they say. And that's where I discovered the bass. The electric bass is what I've been playing for so many years now. I moved from guitar to electric bass in RV College of Engineering, and I played a lot of music through my engineering days. Then even a little after that, I was playing with a whole bunch of bands in Bangalore. And then it so happened that I was at a stage in my life in which I realized that if I have to make a career of music for myself, I need to learn a lot more than I actually knew at that point. For my good luck or bad luck, I don't know. I couldn't find anybody who could teach me how to play the bass the way I wanted to learn. There wasn't an academy that I could go and learn at, and there wasn't a person whom I looked up to in Bangalore whom I could go and learn from. The closest people whom I could learn from were in Chennai, and it was not feasible at that time to actually go to Chennai and learn. So I just dropped the musical thing a couple of years out of college. I'd already started working. And 1 year into my work life, I suddenly found myself in the field of entrepreneurship. I was suddenly running a company which was into barcode technology, and we branched out into computer education, and that went on for some time, for a few years. And along the way, I met Chandrika, who was working with me at our computer education center at Mysore. And by which time, Rashmi, I'd stopped playing music altogether. For me, if I had to go ahead in my musical journey at that point, I needed to improve myself a lot as a musician, which I couldn't do. So I just gave it all up. And I got into this journey of work life and of entrepreneurship, if I could call it that. And I did that. This is all in between, say, 1991 and 2000. So by the year 2000, I was done with being an entrepreneur. I was not an entrepreneur at heart in the technology space. Well, it was exciting for some time, but after a while, it was not something that I really enjoyed. So I wound up those companies that I was running and took a little break, and then got into training and development. I mean, corporate learning and development. I became a trainer. I started training people on campus to corporate transition, on communication skills, and so on and so forth. And there was also a little stint that I did in the US. I did a little consultancy stint for about 6 months in the US, where I was working with automobile manufacturers in a technical area, which was also something which was close to my heart. I did that for a while, came back and continued learning and development, working in that space. So that went on for a long time. I did that, I think, for more than 10, 12 years. And around 2010 or 2011, an incident happened wherein which I lost my friend from college, who was a very close friend of mine. We were part of the same band. We did a lot of music together during college days. He was a drummer and I was a guitar player and then the bass player for him. And we suddenly lost him. And he had continued playing music, and he was playing for a very popular band in the Bangalore circuits. And his bandmates organized a tribute to him, and I was one of the people who was invited to come and play, because I used to play with him a lot in my younger days. So after a gap of over 20 years, I went back on stage, and I was remembering this friend of mine, and I suddenly thought, what am I doing with my life? Music was something that I was always passionate about. I loved being on stage. I loved playing music. I said, I need to do something in music. And that's when I said, okay, enough is enough. So let me see what I can do in the space of music. And there are only so many options in music. I was not a qualified musician to go and say, okay, now here I am back with my guitar. Let me go and start doing concerts and recording sessions. And that was appeal to me. So I realized that what I couldn't do at that time was learn from an academy that I would have liked to learn, go there and learn from. But there was nothing like that for available for me at that time. So I said, why not set up an academy? And that's how the journey of Octavium Music Academy started. So it took about 2 years for us to set up. There were a few challenges. There were 2 or 3 failed attempts. Didn't really take off. And finally, in late 2012, things started coming together. And in April 2013, we launched Octavium Music Academy, the way that I kind of visualized how an academy should be. And so that's it. We've been running the place from 2013. Of course, in March 2020, like most of our contemporaries, we also went online. And we held on to our space, and then we reopened in April last year, shut it down again. Reopened in November last year, shut it down again. And we reopened again in February, and we are still open. And now we have students coming back to the academy and learning with us. And we have a whole bunch of students learning online also with us from all over the world. So that's my journey in a nutshell. I've left out a whole bunch of things which are not relevant to the context of what I am doing today. So that's been my journey, Rashmi.
Wow. Okay, so somewhere your friend brought you back to music, and
Absolutely.
that led you to Octavium.
Yeah, my friend did that by leaving us and going, sadly. But he did that. Yes, that it's credit to him, really.
Okay. When Kedar spoke about the guitar and him playing the guitar, Chandrika, I thought very obviously you must have been one of those ladies who were charmed with a guy cool playing the guitar, and that's how you met.
Oh my God.
But he said music wasn't there in his life when you came in. So where did you grow up?
In the background, just
Yeah, so I was born and brought up for the first 12 years of my life in Chandigarh and Jammu. So I grew up in North India, lived in a colony. My father used to work in a central government organization. And we had a very wonderful childhood, always doing things together. A lot of celebrations were together, a lot of friends, and very happy environment. We moved to Mysore when I was 12 years old. And again, in a colony, we were in a happy place. There was always a lot of push for studies, for academics. My mother really wanted to study and she couldn't do that. And she had 3 kids. So I have 2 other sisters. So we have 3 sisters. So a lot of focus on studies when I was growing up, along with a lot of extracurricular activities like a school would have. So we would.
But who was into music at home that you went into music as well, your mother?
My mom wanted us to learn Carnatic. So me and my sister, we used to go for music lessons.
And
we also
for exams and all that.
Yes. I have done my Carnatic classical. I've passed the junior. I did my engineering in Bangalore. So I got into engineering, and that was the first time I was stepping out of this entire secure life. Though I lived with my grandparents and my uncle, but then I had to take a bus and go to the college, which was a very new experience for me. We've always lived in colony. School is always inside the colony. We are always going with people we know, walking. We don't have to take even a bus. And this had to travel by public transport. So that was a new learning. And I think my sense of independence started from there. And that only grew. So the confidence in myself, apart from being just studying and being in academics, that all grew because I decided, my parents decided I should do engineering, even though I didn't get in Mysore, I got in Bangalore. My mom wanted me to be a teacher. So she always thought, because I talk a lot, so she's thinking you'll become a good teacher, you should study BA and get into teaching. That based on the marks that was obtained, I got an engineering seat. I realized I was not going to make a good engineer. I think in the first year, I was seeing stars, electrical engineering, civil engineering. I was was wondering what's happening. Operations research, I can never forget those subjects. And I really I had to put a lot of effort. It didn't come naturally to me. I managed to finish it well, but then once I had to start working, I chose not to work in engineering field. I did a course in Joseph's, and that was something appealing for me because HR was a very new function. Personnel department was there, but HR was a function that was growing in all organizations. I happened to start working in a education space. So I was working at AppTech. Then I was working in TULEC. That's where I met him. And then I got into Team Productivity Consultants, which was an organization to learning and development for corporates. And that's where my introduction to corporate training happened. And then I realized there's a field called HR, and there's an L&D department in HR, and I can actually develop my skills in that area. And I did my post-graduation in HR and got into HR field, primarily in learning and development. So ultimately, I got into teaching in such a long-winded way, which I could have just finished my B.Ed and then become a teacher. But yeah, I did all kinds of things and landed in learning and development. But I have enjoyed my entire stint in L&D. I worked with Philips. That was my best corporate life. Also was a trainer for 5 years. I continue to do facilitation. I'm a trainer by heart. I'm also a leadership coach. So I got certified by ICF in 2010 when it was just new and everybody was getting into, okay, coaching is something interesting. It's new. Training we all knew, but what is coaching? Yeah. So I got my ACC from ICF, and I did a lot of leadership programs, after which I started my own consulting practice. I did a lot of consulting work. So in between all of this, 2 kids also happened. My first one was born when I was in Philips. So when he was born, there was this conflict of working and being a parent. Of course, being a full-time parent was something I thought that I will make life miserable for him, because I needed to work as well and keep alive my professional interests. So training was something that worked very well. So I got into full-time training for corporates. And then we started Octavium. When we started Octavium, that's when my daughter happened. So that was after a gap of 10 years. There were many interesting episodes in our life that opened up because she was like a gift that God gave us. And this was when we started Octavium. So it was, we were in the middle of setting up Octavium. I had set up my consulting practice just a year prior to starting Octavium. I was getting a lot of projects and training assignments and coaching assignments. And then suddenly my daughter decided to come to our lives. And when that happened, it was a wonderful roller coaster ride. It was, she keeps us quite busy. So my consulting work increased at that time. Like I did more consulting work so that I could manage her and also be able to do my work. So, and in the last 2 years, I've been actively doing. So this is where I am today. But yes, I learn every day from my children. And L&D is something that has been professionally, that has been my thread, which has kept me very excited because I meet new people, I understand their journeys, I know what they're going through. I try to support as much as I can and help. And when they transform, that's what gives me a lot of joy.
This is really true that once you get into the L&D space, it is a lovely space because you constantly are evolving, whether as a coach or a facilitator. But my question to you is, as far as Octavium is concerned, when Kedar decided to go into that journey, your formal education in music, did it step up at that time?
Yeah.
Were you like super thrilled about getting music back into your life? What happened with Octavium, your love for music and Kedar's love for music? How did they all blend?
I think when we looked at opening Octavium, it was primarily, I would see him as a musician. So I am not a musician. I am someone who can just possibly hold a tune. But I cannot call myself a musician at all.
Our son wouldn't allow her to sing when he was small.
Yeah,
No.
even now when I sing, I say, Mom, like, please, those nuances. I'm like, please, I mean, let me sing. But the point is that music is something I've always enjoyed. I've heard a lot of music, grown up listening to a lot of Hindi music, especially Lata Mangeshkar, Kishore Kumar times. I remember all the tunes, all the words, all of that. When we started Octavium, there is this bunch of music professionals. There are musicians, and they are so good. I can only qualify myself as a bathroom singer now. So that is where I am. Now, where I looked at my involvement was primarily in helping set up the operations, managing the place in terms of how do we schedule classes, how do we help mentors figure out a curriculum, how do we bring in some corporate best practices that I was exposed to a lot into a space which is a small startup, but I know that we can do a lot of things which will make it completely enjoyable for people who are working with us. So people who work with us, typically we are looking at how can they grow and how can they enjoy doing what they're doing and how can we make it easy for them. So that is what we are always trying to do. So all the content and the creative part of it is done by him. So if you think
all
of
the legal compliance, accounts,
accounting,
all the bad
all the
stuff,
tough work
all
he
the
does. Okay, I get to do only the good work. So he does all of that. But the creative part, like, the entire event, deciding how the event should be, or what kind of theme we should have, or what is the quality of audio, video we should use. Those are the decisions he makes. I help him to put a structure. So I'm always asking him, where's your checklist? Where is a template? Where is this? What are the things we need? So those are some things
the challenge for her is that, though I've been an entrepreneur myself. I've worked a lot with corporates, very closely with corporates. I've been an active facilitator for over 15 years at all levels, from starter level to middle management level. I've worked with them closely. So all these things I understand, but they do not come to me naturally, because at heart I'm an artist. So that's the problem for her, is to get me to actually execute my understanding, which doesn't come to me naturally. So that's something which was always a challenge for her. It's still a challenge for her. The biggest problem for her, you understand all of this. So what's the difficulty in doing it? I said, the difficulty is in execution, not in the knowledge of the.
No, the beauty of the tangible and the intangible is, I see the combination of the two of you. Because when it comes to music and creativity, there's a lot which is intangible there. But a template is required when you need a structure, when you need
Definitely.
an academy and stuff like that.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So where did the two blend? How did the two meet? And being creative is one, but expressing the creativity within a framework makes it easy for the layman also to understand. So where did you bring a common fora wherein all of this could come together as a structure for an academy that was running? Or is the academy one place where somebody like you, who suddenly wants to learn only bass, can come into the academy and say, I don't want everything else. I just want this part of music to. How have you structured it, Kedar?
Okay. You're right when you say that, there needs to be a template. I always believe that, art has its place, and commerce, to use, for the lack of a better term, has its own space. But when you're running an institution or an academy that teaches the arts, you're walking a tight line, because the teachers whom you have at the academy are artists, and artists love freedom. Whereas a corporate entity is the antithesis of freedom, because it's all about structure and process. So finding that balance is very, very difficult initially for her, because she was leading all of that. And in between, our daughter was born, like she said. It was very difficult for her, because getting people to understand the importance of a meeting, of course, was probably the first major challenge that Chandrika faced when she was, because we all make fun of meetings. It's the longest I think, the oldest meme ever since businesses have come into existence in their most nascent and ancient format to whatever they have evolved into today. Meetings is something that people make fun of. And we had to help our people understand the importance of that. To just as a starting point, I'm just giving you a little example. It's work in progress still. It's not something that we can say that yes, we have established everything that we want to. We are still learning, we are still tweaking, we are still evolving, we are still in that process. But what we do as an academy, we essentially offer music learning for people across age groups. You could be a beginner, you could be someone who's learned a little bit, or you could be someone who's learned a lot, want to advance further. We are open to everybody, but we have a structure. Before coming to the structure, we teach Western contemporary primarily. There's a story to that probably later on in the talk. Can talk about that. We teach guitar, keyboard, piano, Western vocals, drums. We teach music production as well. And during the pandemic, we introduced Hindustani vocals too as part of our offerings. All of our programs have a particular structure. They're structured into 4 sections. The first one is called the exploratory course. The second is called the foundation course. The third is called the fluency course. And the fourth is called the creation course. So essentially what we try and do is we try and take our students through this journey where in the first part, they explore. In the second part, they actually make their foundation firm. In the third part, they get fluent in the areas that they have chosen in which they want to further their musical journey. And in the final part, we help them to create, because ultimately an art form is about expressing oneself, whether it is theater, whether it is art, drawing, whether it's music, whether it's dance, it's all about expression. So that expression part is addressed, I wouldn't say in an isolated way, only in the creation stage. It opens up in the earlier stages, but there's a lot of focus is given in the final stage. That is the broad umbrella of the structure that we have for all our courses. How it is imparted, our students either learn online with us, 1 class at a time, 4 classes in a month online, or at the academy. And they come for their lessons. And apart from that, we also do regular programs which we call learning beyond lessons, where some of our teachers actually take a topic that could be of common interest to all our students, and we run music appreciation sessions on those topics. We organize recitals, we organize student showcase events. We have a studio also, a pro recording studio at our academy, where we encourage our students to actually record themselves, our teachers to do their own recording. If I were a musician and if I were working at an academy, I would love to have a recording setup within the academy where I can go and record my own music instead of having to go out and spend more money and find a studio and haggle for rates and then block my time and all of that. If I had ready access to it, I'll be the happiest. So we set up a studio as well. So the way we've structured Octavium is where a person can come and teach, learn, record, perform, publish music. So all aspects of music can be accomplished if you come and enroll with us at the academy. Of course, online has its own limitations. Online was not something that we did out of choice. We were forced to go online, which is fine, and it's working for us to some extent. But we are purists at heart. While the online will continue, we are looking at strengthening our in-person, what we call, the academy, and we want to grow that as well. So I hope I've answered your question. I said a whole lot of things, but I guess
What was your question?
No, about the structure of the academy, how the academy is structured.
Where did the tangible and the intangible meet?
Yeah, where the tangible and intangible meets. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure this must have evolved with time.
Yeah.
You didn't have it all fixed, or you didn't have a referral point for you at that point to see and follow the footsteps. So in a way, it was innovative at a time when people were not thinking about all of this.
Yeah.
But when it comes to music, music is one area where it appeals to different people at different times, but has a common appeal to all the people all the time. So when it comes to students, is there like how old is your youngest and how young is your oldest in the academy?
How old is our youngest? Our youngest is probably around 6.5 years old.
Okay.
And how young is our oldest? I think our oldest is a person who's looking forward to retiring in a year, and he's frantically learning the drums to form a band before he signs off on his retirement letter. So I was with him in the morning at the academy. Very excited young man. He's he's about to retire, and he's got so much josh. It's fantastic to just even talk with him. So yeah, so that's the range of students, and in between. But the big chunk of our students are in the age group of 8 to 16 in that big.
Okay.
The majority is there.
Okay. And now I am curious, why Western classical and not Indian music? You said you started Hindustani though.
Hindustani, we did launch Hindustani. It's Western contemporary was because I would say that that's the music. I grew up in an environment where my entire family is into music. My parents, both my parents, my late father and my mother, were heavily into Indian classical music, especially Hindustani music. So when we were growing up at home, we were growing up to the early morning voices of Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Pandit Kumar Gandhar, Mallikarjun Mansoor, all these masters. That was in the early mornings. When we came back from school, we would be listening to the radio. The radio would always be on at home. So there would be Binaka Geetmala going on, Radio Ceylon going on. My aunts were into the Beatles and this and that. And so we were very eclectic, I would say, taste in music. And I grew up listening to all of that. But my choice of music when I began to play, I can't really recall whether it was a conscious choice or not, but something that attracted me was Western music, Western contemporary music, rock and roll and rock music. That's what I grew up listening to. Hotel California and that sort of. I went into that space. And when I came to Bangalore was at that time in the early 80s, right through to the 90s, there was a lot of music happening in Bangalore. There were a lot of concerts happening. There were bands, and the Christ College band was the band to look up to. And we would go and watch these people playing all these wonderful songs from Pink Floyd and this and that. And that's what really inspired me, I suppose. And so the default for me when I started Octavium would be to offer music that comes from genres that I'm familiar with. At the same time, I was doing a lot of work with Larsen and Toubro. Larsen and Toubro, I was running a lot of training programs for them across geographies. I was traveling a lot, and one of my program participants I got to know him well through a program, and it turned out that we got talking, and I was talking about my music, and he said, "I'm a musician too. I play the tabla. You should come and meet my Guruji." And I said, "Who's your Guruji?" Then he said, "Pandit Nayan Ghosh." I said, "Pandit Nayan Ghosh, you're kidding." He said, "No, he's my Guru. And I can take you to meet him." I said, "Wonderful." And this is in Powai in Mumbai. So we finished the program that day, and we came to the guest house. He picked me up and said, "Come, let's go." And we went, and he introduced me to Pandit Nayan Ghosh, and Panditji was actually, he runs one the oldest Indian classical music school in Mumbai, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was started by Panalal Ghoshji in those days. And Pandit Nayan Ghosh has been keeping that tradition alive, and he's keeping that music school going. And I told him, I'm planning to start a music school, and this is my quandary. I'm an Indian. I've grown up listening to Indian classical music, and though I've been a Western musician myself, now when I'm starting a music school, what should I be thinking? Should I be thinking that I have to start a music school for Indian music, or should I be starting a music school for the music that I'm familiar with? He said, there's no real answer to that. There's no ready answer to that. But if you want to be wise, if you want to be commercially wise, what you need to do is get into a space and give the market what it wants. Figure out where you're opening that music school, look at the demography of people around, figure out what is it that they want to learn. And then you start with that. And once you establish yourself, then you can offer what you want to offer. So that's the sage advice that I got from Pandit Nayan Ghoshji, and it held me in good stead. Because if I had not done that, if I had gone the Indian classical route, I would have probably been jumping into waters that I have no idea about, and the journey would have been probably different and not in a very happy way. But I'm happy that I took the route that I took, and happy where I am now. And it's a matter of time. I'm certain that I would want to offer Indian music as well to people who want to learn it, because primarily that's what we are about. That's the music of our roots, our land. So that's something that I would certainly look at doing. But again, our boat has been rocked a little bit over the last 2 years, so we are still in the process of steadying that boat. And once that steadies, that's when we'll look at that.
But this again is out of curiosity. Since you spoke about Pannalal Ghosh, and he's somebody that Shankar Jaikishan used a lot for their music and all that. So Hindi film music is not necessarily classical, though there are many songs which have a bass. But for the light music category, if you can put it in that, do you have classes for that, or you're still not contemplating that?
See, what we do is that we have quite a few students, for example, who are learning guitar from us, who are learning the instrument and the theory behind the instrument and the technique to play the instrument, but they use the instrument to play Hindi film music. It is absolutely fine. So what we try and do is get people to understand the instrument, understand broad musicality based around, I would say, Western notation and Western theory. But once you know that, you can apply that to any form of music. Now, when I play on stage with a band, I'm invariably playing Western music. But when I'm holding a guitar at a party in a friend's house, I rarely sing an English song. I'm always singing my Kishore Kumars and my R.D. Burmans, because that comes. I don't have to think; it just comes. How well I sing is a different matter, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Matter in a party. A few drinks down, everybody sings well. So yes. To answer your question, we do get the odd inquiry for people say, "Do you teach film music?" Now, another thing which I'd love to say here is that. If we were to draw parallels, the Indian film music, I wouldn't want to call it this word or that word or Bollywood. It's film music, whether it's Hindi or Tamil or Telugu or Malayalam. There's some fantastic music coming out of film music. Yeah. Film music in India is the equivalent of pop music in the West. We don't have pop music of our own. Well, there have been attempts, but they've never really worked. The mass loves to listen to film music because for them, that is popular music. Pop music is nothing but popular music. But what is called pop music in the West, for us, in India, it is film-based music. People do come and ask us, do you prepare people for Indian Idol? Do you prepare people for Saregamapa and stuff like that? And we say, no, we don't do that. Because that's another kettle of fish altogether. And I think as an academy, as a musician, I do not really support music in the space of competition, because music is not competitive. Sport is. Sport requires there to be winners or losers. In art, you don't require to have winners or losers. It's all about how well you express yourself and how well you're able to connect with your audience. Your audience decides whether they want to listen to more of you or not. You don't have somebody who's a first prize winner or second prize. I really don't subscribe to that, so we don't go down that route at Octavium.
Okay. And when it comes to music, one very important factor is maybe I don't sing Western, contemporary or classical. Sure. Is singing something that is inborn, or can anybody sing?
This is a question that comes up a lot. I think I must quote my good friend Bruce Lee Mani. Bruce is a very, very well-known, very reputed, respected musician, and he runs Academy, which is a very well-known music school. I had this question, which long back, even before I started Octavium, and I remember a conversation I had with him. Bruce, can tone-deaf people sing? That's how I asked him. When I said, you know what I mean, tone-deaf people who can't recognize pitch, or people who can't. Yeah. He says, yes, they can. They just need to give it enough time. And that time could run into years. That's what he said. He said there was a friend of his who couldn't recognize pitch. He couldn't even recognize whether he was singing right or wrong. It took him 8 years. He said, I spent 8 years with him. And in the 8th year, he suddenly one day got it. Apparently, everybody is born with the innate ability to recognize pitch. And this is what I've learned. And this is what, I may be wrong, but this is what I broadly understand. Everybody is born with the ability to sing or to appreciate pitch. But some children, when they are very young, they suffer in-ear damage by probably playing, and it's very sensitive. The inner ear is very sensitive, and even the slightest of damage can break that connection between the inner ear and the part of the brain that processes pitch and all these things, without getting too technical. But with a lot of training, with a lot of persistence, with a lot of patience, and with a lot of time, anybody can sing. To answer your question in that way, some people, they just have it; it's innate in them. They can just sing very, very easily. Where they probably need training is in the nuances, in the finer aspects, the minute control points of using their voice and stuff like that. But the ability to just pitch, just listen to a note and replicate that note, or have a note in the head and bring it out through the voice. A lot of people have that born in them innately. Some people need a little training. Some people have the ear damage that prevents them from recognizing pitch. So there are all types. But yeah, if you want to sing, if you're patient, if you have a teacher who's equally patient, and you don't have a timeline, then yes, there will come a point in time when you will be able to sing to some extent, for sure.
Who has been the most difficult student you have met so far? As in, I don't want them by name, but what has been the most difficult aspect of having them as a student? And what has been one of the most beautiful moments where you were so grateful you started the academy?
I think you're better suited to answer these questions.
Okay. I think for us, when we see our students perform, and most people want to perform, that's when it is very, very satisfying. Because it's not just the music, it's also how confident they're becoming, how they're able to express themselves, how they conduct themselves when they are performing. And they're learning a whole bunch of things. And when they actually perform and everybody applauds and how happy they feel, I think that is our moment of happiness. There are some students who love to take exams, and when they score really well, they're very happy, they're very proud. Those are some instances. Third is there are a lot of children who just want to learn music for the sake of it. They don't have any goals, like higher performance goals or any assessment goals. They just enjoy learning. And when they do that, and the parents tell us that this is the only thing this child likes to do. And they look forward to the class. They never want to miss the class. They're so happy to come here. And when the academy was closed, they were really missing. Now, those are the moments of joy for us. And that's what keeps us going. Because that's where we feel that, yeah, we made a difference. Our team, the team of musicians have made a difference. And everybody feels that sense of contentment, sense of gratitude. And we really feel that there's something that spark that we have ignited in that child, because we've seen that when a child learns music, or it could be any other art form, and because we have an academy, we see the confidence that they gain is really great, and the ability to express becomes way better. We've seen very shy children come and really bloom.
Yeah.
And that has been so satisfying. The child has come and would not make eye contact, would not speak to anybody, just look at the instrument. From that stage to being a very confident teenager performing on stage, that the parents really come and tell us, what a shift. And we also see those transformations. So we've had students who join us at 8 years, and we see them when they are 15, 16, and then they all are going to
College,
college and going for their professional
and
courses.
they're all this small when they join us,
Yeah.
and then they're taller than us and they look
Yeah.
down. So
Yeah.
that's really nice. It's really, there are one or two instances where I can take an example where there's a child who joined us very young at the time when he joined, I think about 8 or 9 years old. He couldn't process music the way the most people do. We figured out later that he's actually processing music in binary, and he struggled a lot for the first year. He was very passionate about playing the guitar, but simply couldn't get it. He just couldn't get how to make the notes sound clean or play in time. But he persisted, his parents persisted, his teacher persisted. And after about 2 years, they kept at it, not making much progress. Then they jointly devised a way in how to, I would say, translate what he's learning into a language which he devised for himself in his head. And he used that, and he called it binary. He said, I'm doing it in zeros and ones in my head. And he figured that out. And 3 years from then, he performed on stage with a band. And the boy has gone to top IIT JEEs recently, and I don't want to take names because whatever reasons, we're very happy for him. And that is one instance that has really moved me. So because I saw him as a young boy, and I see him now. He's right there on the top, number one in academics, and he has figured out his own way to actually translate his music learning into expressing. So those are the happy instances. There are difficult students. The most difficult ones are the ones who are not regular. Like for any teacher, that's a nightmare if they're not regular to class and if they don't practice. There are instances like that. And I really don't blame the children for that, I must say, because some of them are living their parents' aspirations. They're not there because they want to be there. They're there because their parents want them to be there. And it's a little tricky for us because it's how do you give this feedback to parents? We can just say that he needs to be more regular, she needs to practice more. That's about what we can tell. But we know the real problem is saying, listen, this child doesn't want to learn music. She's probably more interested in dance. She's probably more interested in chess. We can teach her, but does she want to learn? That's the question that you can ask and answer for yourselves. It's not for us. We can see it clearly. But no, the parents, no, she has to learn. She's on Monday, she's going for guitar. For Tuesday, she's going for swimming. Thursday, she's going for chess. Friday, my daughter has to be an all-rounder. She has to excel in everything. So that is one difficult pain point for us. The other pain point is when the child wants to learn, and we talked about tangibles and intangibles, right? Musical learning is very intangible. We use a lot of tangibles to teach music. We use music theory. There are tangible keys you play. There are tangible strings that you need to hold and make notes and stuff like that. But the journey itself is intangible. If we say that level 1 in our foundation course is going to take 6 months, that's a statistical average. It is not something like, the term starts on June 1st. By the end of September, we have finished the first term and we have taught all of this. Now it's up to you guys to go home, learn, and come for exams. That's not how music works. So for some children finish the entire 6 months curriculum in 1.5 months. They're that fast. Some children take up to 2-3 years. Like Chandrika was said, they join us when they're 8, 9. Some of them are there with us till they're 13, 14, 15. Because it's a journey. And the milestones are very unique. It's very, very unique to each child because we're talking about music here. Parents don't get that. There are 2 children who come they're going for maths tuition together. My son is doing great in maths, but here his friend has gone ahead of him. How is that possible in guitar? Now, how do you explain to this? How do you explain this? How do you decipher this for people who are educated, working professionals who understand the world, who are wise in all ways, but can't understand this? So these are the difficulties. I'll never say we have difficult students. Never. Students are students. They are that way. I mean, they're children. They're still evolving. They're still growing. if we can't have too many expectations from them, apart from, we'd like you to go home and practice. If you don't practice, it's fine. We've all done that. It's all right. But the problem is not really with the students, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, perfectly. In fact, that was my next question, because invariably when they are in the ninth standard, most children stop music or any arts or any class where they really enjoy going,
Yeah.
because it's the board years next and it's highly competitive, and they are stressed. So many a time I tell parents that allow them to go. Maybe the art portion would be where they de-stress and come back and learn a lot better, rather
Absolutely.
than sit and miss the class, because whole
Absolutely.
time in the books is boring. But because I have a friend who teaches dance, and she says there are children who come and say, Auntie, can we sleep? Yesterday we had tennis, our legs are paining. We can't dance today. So can we sleep? Because she said, why don't you go home? Why did you come to class? No, if I sleep at home, Mama won't like it. So I come to class for her, but I can't dance today. So at such moments, it's sad. It's sad for the child, because many a time, like you said, I think it's the parental aspiration and not the child.
Yes.
So, as parents also, and you've seen children very closely, more than the parents. In fact, I feel teachers know kids a lot more sometimes
And the parents,
than
that's
parents,
absolutely.
because they are very vulnerable in classes to share their most beautiful moments. So, what is it that you'd like to tell parents vis-a-vis a journey in life with music or arts? And if the child is not inclined, let the child be. It's okay if the child doesn't like music and doesn't want to be part of any musical journey.
Absolutely.
So, what would you want to tell parents who are confused whether they're doing the right thing, not pushing the child, or they're doing the right thing, pushing the child?
I'll just give you example of my two kids. So my older one is a very good learner. He's like a student which all teachers like. He'll be regular, he will do homework that's given, and he will always be prepared for the class. Now, and he loves to learn. So a teacher, whatever new material they give, he'll learn. Now my daughter, she's the opposite. The moment you put her in a structured class, she wants to rebel because she wants to do her own thing. So she will make life miserable for the teacher by telling, this is what I have learned, this is what I tried, you want to listen to what I did. So she'll always want to do something beyond the class, and the teacher can never hold the curriculum with her. And after a point, the teacher says, if she doesn't want to be in a structured class, I think it's okay. You let her be unstructured and learn on her own.
She's talking about music, yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking only about music.
Yeah, sure.
These both are born in the same environment. They are getting the same exposure, but they are different. Now, each child is different. So if we are pushing them to learn something, somewhere a gentle push is good. For example, pushing them to practice or reminding them to practice. Those are good things to do. But pushing them to use music as a goal to probably write an exam, a music exam, or telling them that I need to see progress in music. You started, it's been 6 months. You're still, I can't see you play a song. Now, playing a song is very complex. Now, there are many things about music I learned once we started the academy. Now, I have been a student of music. I understand music. That doesn't mean I know anything about music. When we started the academy, there are so many nuances to learning, and comparison with academic is absolutely wrong.
It's apples and oranges, actually.
Totally, because this is a skill, and this is so much expression of self. Whereas academics, if the child doesn't learn, we are sending them to tuitions, then we are sending them for more tuitions, and then we are it's like repetition. But in music, even if we tell a child, okay, every day you just do only this, the expression has to be there. The music has to sound good. It's not just about copying how it is supposed to be played. So it's important to observe. I think it's so important to observe your child and see how they're responding. Sometimes they take time. As long as they're interested in learning, let them learn. If they have lost the interest, you are pushing them continuously, that means they don't have the interest. So there's no need to push there.
In both ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes children are very, very interested.
Yeah.
And at the wrong time,
Yeah,
I'm saying
they're pulled out.
They're pulled out at the wrong time. especially when board exams come. I've had cases in which parents and they say we want to sell the keyboard because the child is playing it too much.
Too much.
Well, if I were the parent, say, okay, he's playing the keyboard that much, that means he's obviously inclined towards that, and that's what he wants to do. So why are you taking it away from him? If you're taking it away from the child, you're only creating resentment towards, you're triggering a negative emotion in the child at the wrong time. So one thing which would certainly, I would say, is that know your child. Know your child, and remember that, anything you do or don't do, I'll just limit myself to music. Anything you do or don't do, which is out of alignment with what your child is all about, is only going to cause the child stress, and it's going to have repercussions, if not today, tomorrow, in the child's, I would say, own self-worth. In the relationship that you enjoy with your child, everything is going to be impacted. So think about it. Don't be blind about it, saying that, okay, it's 10 standard exams, 12 standard exams, no music, no nothing. Cut everything off, sit and study. You're taking away something that a child enjoys, but you need to be sure that the child is enjoying that. So that's important. And vice versa as well. Don't push your child just because you want the child to learn. Just figure out whether the child wants to learn or not.
Yeah. And what did you figure out in the pandemic about life itself, Kedar and Chandrika? Because all of us stepped back. It was the most unexpected thing that happened. Nobody thought that. We realized who's the boss. Nature told us how to live minimalistically and taught us that it is possible to lead a life very simple with the basic wants that have been given to us. How and what were your learnings, and how did you handle yourself in the last 2 years? Because you had an academy to run, suddenly classes went online, and virtual medium was not something that usually music was done in. And here everything moved in a different way. So, how did the pandemic treat you, and what were your reflections?
Okay, as far as the academy goes, we closed on March 14th, 2020, and by March 21st or 22nd, we had migrated to the online medium. It was quite a challenge. The first couple of days were absolute panic because it was suddenly as if all the doors around us were shut, and we were like, how are we going to teach? How are we going to teach drums, piano, keyboard? How are we going to teach all of this online? Our team of teachers have never used an online medium for meetings. Max, they would have had a WhatsApp video chat, nothing beyond that. So after the initial panic, we went through that stage of panic. We kind of sat down and said, okay, just panicking is not going to help. Let's figure out what we can do. So the both of us sat down and we converted our house into a war room. And we got our operations team together, and we said, okay, we need to first bring everybody up to speed. So we got our teachers familiar with using Zoom. Then we got into logistics mode, made sure instruments and computers reached whoever didn't have them. We did all of that, and we migrated very quickly. Out of so many students that we had when we closed the academy down, around, I think, about half, a little over half the number of students said, yes, we want to go online, and they came online. The remaining, they said, no, we don't know what's going on. We're still trying to figure out our own lives. So we don't want to take that call now. That's how we transitioned from the physical academy to the virtual academy. And then over a period of 7 months, our numbers grew, and it settled down. There were a few people who left, few people who joined, which was inevitable. So we went through that churn, and then we settled down. So that part of it, I'll just leave it at that, because we've come out of the tail of the pandemic, and we have online and offline. Personally, it was, I would say, a lot of realization. I would say, as a family, we spent a lot of time together. It's not that we weren't before. The choices that Chandrika and I have made in our lives have been such that we have enough time for each other, and we spend a lot of time together. We are very close-knit as a family. we value that time. In fact, like Chandrika was saying, when her son was born, she quit a corporate career where she was already, doing very well for herself and could have climbed up the corporate ladder very easily. But she gave that up because for her, a child was more important. So that in that way, we probably spent a little too much time with each other. After a while, we were getting on each other's nerves, especially the kids, because we were in their faces all the time. Just leave us alone. So the jokes apart, I think, yeah, we really enjoyed the realization, like you said, that we can live with a lot less. We have not been the overtly social type of people who go out and party, and we have very, 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 very little of that. So we didn't miss any of that. That's one thing we realized, that we can absolutely be without it. We have been in the past, we can be without it for now. A few other realizations, I realized that I'm very good at washing vessels. I'm personally good at that. That's one sentence. And I realized that I have organizational skills when it comes to arranging washed vessels in a particular way. I got a compliment from my mother-in-law for that. So for me, that's a badge of honor that I wear. Yeah. But I think I'll leave it to Chandrika to actually talk about how it has been for us through the pandemic.
Yeah, I think initially when I heard about it, I thought this will pass. Why is he panicking? Another 2-3 weeks maximum. This is okay. Nothing will happen. And then he said, "Do you realize what's happening?" Because it was 3rd or 4th day, and the news was very, very coming out very strongly. And he's very much into consuming news, and he keeps tab, right? And especially because of the pandemic, he was keeping a lot of tab on what's happening. And he told me, "Look, this is going to continue for 1 or 2 years." I think my heart sank. And I was like, okay, this is almost like the end of the world, because if you remember what I spoke about my childhood and thereon, life has always been very smooth and cool. And even when I made the decision to be on my own and leave my corporate career, it was a tough decision. 6 months I took to decide that. But then I realized for my child, I'm the only mother, but for an organization, they'll replace me very easily. So that's what I used to make the decision. And I said, if I have the skills, I can continue. It's not that I'll stop working. I just have to find a way where I can balance it out. So when the pandemic really happened, it almost seemed like we had to shut down everything. And we were even prepared to relocate, maybe go somewhere. Those were the thoughts, because you go to the extreme ends. Because the whole country is unprepared, the entire machinery is unprepared, and it seemed like such a bad virus. People who were dying.
Yeah, we were seeing only that.
It was scary. The Italy news was the one which was very prominent.
We were watching footage from Italy and those countries where it was really bad, and it had not yet taken off like that in India. But we thought that is what it's going to be.
Yeah. Then we spoke to. It so happened that one of my friends and my sister, they said, "You know what? Why don't you use a virtual medium for teaching? Why don't you try?" And we also saw that people started migrating to online, and thank God for the virtual medium.
Yeah.
Because if this Zoom was not there, or any of Google Meets or WhatsApp videos, if they were not there, it would have been a chaos.
It would have been end of.
We would have been able to survive.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful that our team actually also realized. So we used to have meetings very often, virtual meetings, to talk to them and tell them, "Look, this is what is happening, and we need to migrate. Otherwise, it's end of story for all of us." So I think they also realized, and we were able to migrate. At home, my daughter was supposed to go to 1st standard. She was looking forward to going to 1st standard. Now, one fine day, the school says from tomorrow, no school, which was March 1st. They said there's some indication that this is happening. And she was just at school. She couldn't even say bye to her friends. And it was very difficult. She was in the Montessori, and she had to get into 1st standard. And she's at home, and she has nobody to play with. And we are so stressed because we are trying to migrate. And my work took a big hit. The consulting work that I was doing, nothing was happening. So I think what we kind of...
And our son he had just finished 10th. He was to join first PUC.
First PU. He had got,
and our daughter had only finished Montessori. She had seen her big school, the new school that she was going to, where we had gotten admission for her. She had come with us during the admission time, and she was so excited to go to school. She never got to go to first and second standard. My son hardly went to first and second PUC, just a few weeks in the entire 2 years.
Yeah, but I think the children coped really.
They coped well.
Ultimately, I realized that it's possible for us to navigate problems or navigate difficult situations. Once you understand that, okay, this is going to be there, we just have to prepare ourselves and do what is required. I think that was the biggest learning, that whatever happens, if we have that drive to go through with it, it will take us through. Somehow we will manage, and we managed well after that. Because I've been working from home from very long time, even before the pandemic. So I'm used to working from home, but I'm not used to working from home with everybody around me. So that's the biggest difference. There's so many interruptions. So getting used to a different way of working, not being very closed to change, being very open to, okay, what life throws to us. Let's see what is the worst that can happen. So we're always talking about what's the worst that can happen, and can we deal with that? So I think that was the biggest learning for us, and all of us learned many things. We bonded more, and we also tried different things, and I think we have emerged better after 2 years of the pandemic. We are more individually, I think, and as a family we have, and of course with our respective work that we do at Octavium and the work that I do in the leadership coaching and training space, it has been a very, very big learning. So I'll just say that, yeah, I think it's important to go through certain phases of difficulty. That's when we appreciate all the things that we take for granted. And we always look at, okay, what can I do to make things better? How can I minimize my footprint so that we are not causing more damage to the current situation? And what are some new things we can learn so that we can somehow survive and manage? And it is possible with that determination and with, of course, the people around you. So fighting, it's better to kind of accept and say, okay, let's go with this. What's the worst?
Yeah. Because I think the biggest fear now is that hope we don't forget these lessons as we slowly are getting back, and the way people are traveling now with the vengeance. I only hope we don't forget these important lessons that we got. And talking about lessons, time for your life lessons. At the beginning, I would have said 3 life lessons. So now, can I say 6 life lessons? 3 from each of you, or 3 together? Open up to you. Life lessons that you'd like to leave us.
Life lessons. You want to go first?
So I think the biggest life lesson is to be kind. For me, it's important to be kind to self. It is important to be kind to others, and it is important to be kind to the environment. So in the pandemic, I've also, started looking at feeding stray cats, which was something I never thought I would do. But just that act of kindness now has given me so much love from those animals. That is just one example. So I think kindness goes a long way. So I think being kind is a very, very important lesson that I have learned. So we'll alternate.
Okay, I second that. What she's saying. Kindness and compassion, very, very important traits that we as humans, we are supposed to be a higher order species. We're supposed to be more, evolved. I think those are the things we need to remember that at the end matter a lot. Being kind, compassionate, understanding, and open-hearted as much as we can towards each other and to anything and everything around us, including the environment. So that is something which I would state as adding on to her life lessons. My first life lesson would be that it's not the end of the world, anything that happens to you. It's not the end of the world. Being anxious doesn't help. At the same time, don't fight anxiety. Allow it to come and go, but allow it to go. You can't stop it from coming, but don't hold on to it. Let it go. Once it's gone, then you can think more clearly and you can act on what needs to be acted upon. Staying in a state of anxiety, getting addicted to a state of anxiety is something that can involuntarily happen. Watch out for that and don't let it happen. Let the anxiety come and let it go. Once it goes, do what you need to do. That's the initial part of the pandemic taught me that anxiety is inevitable, but you can overcome it.
I think the second one for me is important to have positive thoughts. So find ways to stay positive. Find things to do that will help you stay positive. If we are in the negative state of mind for a long time, it can get into a negative spiral and it will just go downwards. So if we take that step to keep ourselves positive by doing things that help us be positive, having thoughts that help us to stay positive, being around people who help us to stay positive, it really helps us to do everything that we want to do. So I think staying positive for me it's been a big positive lesson in the pandemic, because there were times when I would worry a lot in the past, and I thought in the pandemic, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I think the whole journey has taught me that it's fine. Life will throw what it has to throw. You enjoy the moment, be there and see what best you can make out of it, and stay positive. Things will turn out for the good. Everything is happening for the good.
Life is a great leveler, and one big realization, I'm sure a lot of people have realized this. It doesn't matter what house you're living in, what car you drive, what clothes you possess. It really didn't matter in the pandemic, did it? Whether you have a Maruti 800 or a BMW, they were all parked. Whether you are living in a bungalow or whether you're living in an apartment, you were inside it. You couldn't go out. Whether you were the CEO of a company or whether you were an individual contributor at another level, you were still sitting in front of a computer and into a screen. I think we all need to kind of look again and see what are we actually seeking. And if we are seeking happiness, do we need to seek happiness through acquisitions, through position, through status, through wealth, or is there a direct way towards happiness? Because ultimately, we aspire to be something or get something or have something, not because of that thing itself, because what we think that thing will bring us. You know, if I get myself a great car, it's not necessarily just that the car is a great car to drive, but I believe that if I get that car, it will make me happy. So ultimately, I'm aiming for happiness. So why not think about happiness itself directly? So I think we need to start asking those questions. That is something which I believe we all need to do. And being content with what we have and realizing that our existence in this lifetime is just a blip in the entire scheme of things. It's not even a nanosecond in the entire scheme of things. We should stop taking ourselves very seriously, is what I believe. We take ourselves a touch too seriously, and we create all these self-images about ourselves, which really doesn't matter in the end. Because 100 years down the line, nobody's going to remember who you are. So it doesn't matter. So don't take yourself so seriously. It's a second life lesson for me.
So the final one from me would be to keep learning. I'm a big believer of learning. And I think that's what kept me well through the pandemic. So I would attend all kinds of courses. Very interesting. You know, there's some, I think during the pandemic, every thought leader or inspirational speakers or even people who had some very good ideas and they had some kind of skills they wanted to share, everybody was there virtually. It was possible to access everyone. So I went through some kind of learning phase. It sometime back in my life, I was thinking I should have a sabbatical for 1 year when I just learn and not work and do nothing and enjoy my life with family. And in the pandemic, that's what
it
happened in the pandemic. And I realized, oh yeah, actually this is the opportunity for me to learn whatever I felt I could not learn, or I did not have the time because of all the running around. So I think I did that, and it really helped me, because through certain courses and by keeping myself up to date and reskilling myself or upskilling myself, I was able to restart my work. And I have been able to do some fantastic work after those 6 months of learning phase that I had. So I think all of us should take a pause sometimes. Of course, pandemic forced all of us to take a pause. It's good to think about what is a good time for one to take a pause. So take a pause, learn something, do something different, completely different, which you wouldn't do otherwise. And that kind of helps you to become a better person. And that is an experience that you will always remember. So I would say that was my life lesson. Keep learning and find opportunities to take a pause.
Okay, my final life lesson, which is something that I have started a journey on for myself, is of looking inward and trying and finding out who I actually am. And I would encourage people to actually do that. Figure out, who are you actually? Ask those questions. Are you this bundle of tissue, muscle, skin, bone, and thoughts, or is it something more than that? So I would encourage people to look inward to find peace and I would say contentment, bliss, joy, whatever you want to call it, rather than outside. Everything that you need is inside you. Nothing you need is outside you, is something which I would like to reiterate to people and say that the whole world is inside you. Just look inside and find yourself. At least start that journey. There'll be a lot less conflict in the world. There'll be a lot more peace in the world if people start doing that. And I would want a lot more people to actually start doing this. Because it's about a sense of peace and equanimity, which will help you deal with everything life throws at you. Life is not going to stop throwing things at you. It's going, because that's what life is about. But looking inward and discovering yourself will help you to deal with all those things that life throws at you with a sense of peace and with a sense of, I would say, understanding of yourself. So that's a life lesson which I have learned. And it's again, like whatever I'm doing at Octavium is work in progress. This is also work in progress. So I am taking that very seriously for myself, and I would encourage people to do that as well.
And I hope you both have become a little wiser.
One can always hope.
Yeah.
Well, my biggest takeaway, gratitude to the two of you for giving your time and sharing your journey and leaving us with some really good food for thought with what you do and how beautifully you expressed your entire journey till now. Such an honor and pleasure having you on You and I with Rashmi Shetty. All the very best, and cherish the moments I had with you, but all the best in your dreams.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Rashmi. Big gratitude to you also.
With that, we come to the end of this weekly quest of You and I with Rashmi Shetty. Do let us know if you know people who make the world beautiful. Write in to rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. That is rashmi.thethirdeye@gmail.com. Come, let's explore this amazing world together, both you and I.